Hello, everyone. I'm with the very beautiful Marie Howe in New York. Marie, thank you.
It's a joy to be with you, Lori.
You're so great. We've got 20 minutes with Marie. And so that was very tough, right? Because of course I want to sort of open up a whole world with Marie, but it occurs to me now, what's so beautiful about poetry is that it's this small, beautiful world within this tiny kind of composite. And so that's what we're going to do too today. We're just going to have some, a few minutes together to unpack something beautiful. What did I say to you? I said, no worries, Marie. We're not going to cover everything. We're just going to lob some beauty at people.
Yeah. Great.
So for those of you who are new to Marie's work, I know I've talked about her and I've shared some of her work. I just want you to know that, Marie is one of the most soulful and remarkable poets of our time. And I say that quite truly. I think I became aware of your work I think your first book came out in 1988.
Yeah.
And that's when I became aware of you. And you've got four books of poetry. The most recent is Magdalene, which is quite beautiful. And some of you might know her from know Marie from her interview with Krista Tippett on Being, which is gorgeous. I listened to it not long ago for the second time as I walked through the streets of San Diego, just listening to you tell stories about growing up in your family and poetry and language and everything. It was amazing. And then most recently, Marie Popova on Brain Pickings did this gorgeous day called The Universe in Verse. And Marie was a part of that. And you shared a really incredible poem that you're going to read for us now. And I thought that would be a great way to start this off. Because I think that the poem itself really sort of opens up to us where we are today. And I wondered if before you read it, whether or not you wanted to say anything about the context of that poem and when you wrote it.
Yeah. Well, Maria Popova, has this blog, Brain Pickings, which is sort of astonishing. And she puts out every week, and you can sign up for it for free if you want. But she puts on this event in Brooklyn called The Universe in Verse. And all kinds of people read poems celebrating science. So she asked me to write something, and I'm a very slow and reluctant writer. Although I'd love to write, anyway. So I have been teaching, I've been learning eco-poetry with my students for the last 4 years, where we learn about the living world, and we begin to realize that we are the living world. We are an aspect, all the words we use to distance ourselves from the rest of the world begin to break down. So, and I've been reading in the morning, some of those books that we all try to read about physics and trying to understand, physical reality. I guess it's physical. So I try to write, as often happens, fail. And then suddenly I just said, it came out very simply, Singularity, and it's dedicated to Stephen Hawking, who was the one who studied black holes, but also came to see through the Hubble that galaxies are moving apart. So he deduced that once we were all together, the singularity. Do you sometimes want to wake up to the singularity we once were? So compact, nobody needed a bed or food or money. Nobody hiding in the school bathroom or home alone, pulling open the drawer where the pills are kept. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. Remember, there was no nature, no them, no test to determine if the elephant grieves her calf or if the coral reef feels pain. Trashed oceans don't speak English or Farsi or French. Would that we could wake up to what we were when we were ocean, and before that, to when sky was earth and animal was energy and rock was liquid and stars were space and space was not at all, nothing. before we came to believe humans were so important, before this awful loneliness. Can molecules recall it? What once was before anything happened? No I, no we, no one, no was, no verb, no noun, only a tiny, tiny dot brimming with is, all, everything, home. The poem was longer when I first wrote it. I brought it into my daughter, who was then probably 17, and I read it to her, and she said, "The middle, take out the whole middle."
Was she right?
No, yeah, she's always right. And I'm like, from that to that, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's really so beautiful. It's beautiful on the page. It's beautiful to hear you reading it. It's really remarkable.
Truly, it's like my students and I, we have been on such a journey, and I feel it's such a relief to know that it's not a metaphor, that we really are all the same stuff, and that we are not, as we're learning now.
Yeah.
There's no hierarchy.
Right.
I mean, this ridiculous hierarchy. We read Sapiens, have you read Sapiens? I mean,
no, I haven't, but I heard an interview with him yesterday with Sam Harris.
Just read the first chapter. Just read up into the cognitive revolution.
Yeah.
I mean, for centuries, we were an animal of no importance, scavenging. And then something happened in our brain where we could create fictions. And it's fascinating. But the first thing we do in our class is we just think about the words we're going to use, and we realize even saying the word nature is no longer acceptable. We are nature.
I just what struck me was that, like you said, it's not theoretical. The singularity is not theoretical, and yet we can sort of live like that, but no longer. And so I'm just wondering how it was for you. You wrote it then, but we're living it now. And I wonder if your own poem surprised you with that sort of prescient knowledge, or that in the soul of you.
First of all, every poem surprises me. I don't feel like I write anything. Let me be perfectly clear. I have very little to say. The Marie, the little Marie. Yeah. I just feel like, you open, you do this with wild writing, you open and something can speak through us that knows more than we do.
Right.
That's what poetry is for me. But a lot of people have known this a long time. I mean, scientists have known this. Whitman, who's quoted here, every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. Song of Myself is entirely about this. But he means it. I mean, we are the same. We are, every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. We read that this is just actual. And that we think that we can act independently. It's all ridiculous. These ideas that came up from Western thought, that there's a mind and there's a body and there's a you. I mean, of course, there's a you and a me in a way. We get to do this, but so this virus has taught us so much. It's a terrible lesson, terrible cost, terrible for people who have, unsayable suffering. And it's teaching us that we're all connected. Yeah. We can't live alone. We can't pretend that what I do doesn't affect you. That's right. And also, of course, it's given the living world a respite.
Right.
And who knew it would heal so quickly?
Yeah.
Heal from us.
Right.
Just,
And I wonder, a big question is, how will each of us decide to step back into the world, and what shifts or awareness will we bring to that? And that's very particular to each of us. And I'm wondering, are you thinking about that for yourself, even as a writer?
Well, everything that's happened, that's happening, and we don't know how it will continue to happen.
Right, right.
I mean, this virus reminds me, of course, of the AIDS virus, which reminded a swath of our population that we are mortal.
That's right.
And the American culture doesn't want to talk about mortality.
No, we don't want to die.
We don't want to die. We don't want to age. You know, we don't talk about dying. We don't talk about aging. We talk about violence. We show violence. We watch violence. We watch people killing each other all the time.
Right.
We watch the destruction of the world over and over again in films.
Yeah.
But we don't really encounter our own mortality. And this has brought that very, very close. I don't know about you, Lori, but there are nights when I tremble.
Mm-hmm. For yourself, or just for the wholeness of it?
Well, I just think, I get frightened. I'll get sick, and I'll be one of those people who get sick and die, and my daughter won't have me, or I just think this could change and change and change, and whoop, humans are gone. Or whatever. So I feel like this humility and great gratitude to be here at all. And of course, the wonderful, and this I say wonderful, and only, I don't want to use a word like wonderful, given the suffering, but the pause, the ceasing of the machinery of capitalism and consumerism that has, for the most part, except for Amazon, ceased.
Right.
New York City is transformed. I mean,
yeah, you were saying earlier, like before we started recording, that being in New York has really been incredible. Can you say more about that for you?
Well, it's an honor to be here, to be among the people who are working so hard at risk, to keep other people alive and to keep everything going. The whole city has silenced. It's like a village now, a little village. And I literally wake up to birdsong because the birds are so loud now. And the sounds that are most available that I hear are birdsong all day and sirens.
What an interesting, kind of duo there. That's
especially at the height when we were approaching the apex, and many, many people were going to the hospital every day.
Yeah.
The sirens and the birdsong was just, that's
so interesting. There's a poem in that.
It's sort of, and then going outside and everybody just walking quietly. New York's all about being with everybody.
Jostering and neck, and
that's why I came here. I wanted to be with everybody else and not in the suburbs, And of course, Broadway, and I have friends who are actors and their plays that are, films, concerts. But then just all of it stopped. And how can it begin? How can it all begin again? But I think it's finally time for us to imagine the world we want to live in. Everybody's thinking this way. One of the things American poetry, Whitman did it. And I think there have been a few visionary poets, but I feel as if it can become, I was talking to my students the other day, and they're so sad. They were wrenched away from college, back home in their bedrooms, which again,
so intimate.
Yeah. And but also just, it's a disappointment. They wanted to be living their independent lives. They're not in migrant camps. They're not in jail,
Right.
But it's very hard for a lot of them. I was saying, this is a time to be rigorous in our imagination. And I said, we've been doing a lot of free writing too, because I've so enjoyed doing the free writing with you in the morning, Lori. And so I'll say, right now, let's all imagine a mile and a half off the coast of Cape Cod in the ocean, what's happening. And we all write, or, in the house you grew up in, try to see a room, just move beyond yourself and imagine other things happening in the world. And then then we try to write gratitude and being grateful for even the painful things, and now we're trying to vision, what really can happen. And of course, it's fraught because we feel that the money people will have taken control, and they'll still try to drive the big machine over everybody. But
right. Your teaching sounds so intimate right now with your students, even though you're separated. You used to be in a classroom together at Sarah Lawrence, and now you're spread apart like that. And yet it feels like, when you were telling me about what you were having them do, it almost sounds like there's a mothering quality, that like poet mother.
Well, I was preaching, and I said, okay, I'm going to preach, because they'd all written these poems like, I'm stuck. I said, okay, I hear you. Now I'm going to preach. You can do that for a while, but then we have to pull ourselves together. The imagination is a muscle.
Right.
If you don't use it, it atrophies. So you have to imagine now, beyond yourself and beyond this moment. What can we imagine?
Right.
The water in the canals of Venice is clear. There's jellyfish swimming in. I mean, what do we want to bring all motorboats back? Do we want to? I mean, I love to travel, but what are we going to do about all that?
Right.
We've been reading Whitman. It changed everything, and I thought, okay, let's just start with every atom belonging to me is as good belongs to you.
Wow. So
and then
reframing.
Like we are not just ourselves.
And so even for students, for instance, who are imagining their big, bright, bold literary life, or wherever they think something will take them, there's actually a more glorious landscape that is not me or we, or it's us, it's all of us. Yeah.
And it's the other animals. I feel like we have to begin to listen to the aspect of ourselves we have been raping, really, which is the rest of the earth. I just read something today. The Extinction Rebellion people had some kind of a Zoom conference, and one of them got up and said, "The earth says, me too, me too."
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Right? Did you feel it? Like, yes, she's been raped. She's been assaulted. And we are the earth. Right. I mean, everything that is alive is all connected. So we have been raping ourselves, essentially. We have been assaulting ourselves. And, I feel like we need to begin to listen to the trees, to the wind, to the earth, to the birds, to the mosquitoes, to the bats, they're all their heads cut off in those markets. And just listen and shut up in a way,
It reminds me of that Native American term, Mataquiasan. It was all my relations. Mataquiasan, all my relations. I'm related to everything. But imagine, like, that's such a beautiful, imagine a beautiful way to start your day. All my relations connected to everything. So every time I want to go on Amazon, or every time I want to throw something away and it could be used again, what does that actually mean to orient ourselves, even in what we're writing? What, as you're doing with your students, what if you enter all my relations, like as though you're entering a room full of your relations? How do we walk into the world like that?
Yeah, and you have to slow down.
Yeah,
which we're forced to do, and we have to be receptive to other voices besides our own. And I feel like I crack an egg, and I'm like, I remember that the egg came from a chicken, who may or might not still be alive, and that this is her egg, and that just the whole, like Thich Nhat Hanh, Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese monk, and he says, "Do you see the paper? Because when you see the paper, do you see the cloud?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because if you do not see the cloud, you do not see the paper. You know, you see
Oh
the
my God.
tree, you see the tree and the rain and the cloud, and you see the man who cut, maybe it was the man who cut the tree down and what he ate for lunch, and you know, his I mean, it's just there's no such thing anymore. It's a piece of paper. It's like everything
Oh
is
my God.
everything.
Wow. This is so beautiful. And I'm again thinking back just for myself, like, what would it take for me to shut up
Mm-hmm.
and slow down and remember what's important? I mean, that's what this opportunity is. So, among a lot of other things.
Yeah, and to listen. I think, you know, to listen to the other voices that have been we've ignored for so long.
Hmm. Wow.
Um,
Wow.
one of the things we decided to do in our class is we don't call the other animals animals anymore.
Hmm.
We call them the other animals.
That's a good way to put it. The other animals.
We're
That's right.
animals. You know,
That's
I
right.
can be an animal again.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Um,
Incredible. So beautiful. It's so funny. I had all these other things to talk to you about, but I'm going to let it all go. And I guess I would say, I'll ask you just one last question. I think you said it, but I'm going to just say, you know, what is your wish for writers today? What is your wish as you sit down with your pen?
well, it's not, again, it's not for me to wish for anybody else. I feel what I would love, what I would, because I don't know how to do this either. I want to make this very clear. But I feel as if whatever happens, whatever wants to sing through each of us will sing. So open your channel, open your heart, and let it sing through you. But I do think that something wants us to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that this something may be what we call reality. And that if we listen, we can also imagine how we can live differently, how we write about that without sounding prescriptive.
Yeah.
Ugh, uh,
Right.
I don't know, and
Right.
that's the conundrum, you know.
Right. Right.
Um, I mean, Blake did it.
Uh-huh.
You
Yeah.
know, Rilke did it to a point. You know, but when you try and think of really who are the,
Mhm.
I mean, there are. I think Lucille Clifton had a visionary quality, but again, it's how do we imagine a future?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I think it's about relationship, as you were saying. I think it's about, it doesn't matter what we write. If we get into right relationship with
Right.
everything else,
That's right.
a new kind of writing will
Right.
come through.
That's right.
And
That's
not fake
yeah,
relationship.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and how to discern that, I don't know. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
how to just, and then we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Lauren, it's always so good to see you.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure. I look forward to our
Thank you.
next encounter, whatever that may be. And thank you so much for your time and your friendship.
And yours, and yours,
And
and
yours and yours. Okay.
yours, and yours.
I'm going
Okay.
to let people know how to get in touch with your work and how to just get more of your goodness in there.
Well, we need each other's company. So I'm just glad that everybody is gathering and writing and listening and, you know.
Oh, it's amazing. You know, like when I offered this thing, I think over 2,500 people said yes to it. And there were certain days where there were like 900 people at once, all writing from the same poems. And I thought, I hear the buzz. There's a buzz of wildness out there. And it's just like whatever we can do to just, you know, bring that up into people and to help people release.
Open, open. And,
Open.
you know, the other thing, Lori, is the gift which you're giving, you know, the gift of saying, this is for you. You don't have to pay me right now.
Right.
And We have to make a living, you know,
Yep.
we have to, but for right now, there's a lot of gifts being given.
So beautiful.
So beautiful.
So
And
beautiful.
orchestras and singers and,
Yeah.
you know, people are, it's like the right relation again
Yeah,
with each
that's
other,
right.
you know, to give a gift.
That's
If
right.
we all gave gifts, we wouldn't need money.
Gift giving economy, back to that.
Yeah, we wouldn't need money.
Right. Beautiful. All right, my friend, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn this off. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye.
And just beautiful. Thank
More
you.